good afternoon po. We're from CEA3 and these questions are for your background. First, for your background information. Second is about your CE profession. And third is for your advice to us, which is aspiring CE.
Well, I can help you for that, but please bear with the way I will speak because I have an extraction last 2 days ago. So, go. What's the first question?
The first question about your background information.
What
what's-
about my background?
Oh, first is what is your name?
My name is Rolando Hasmin Kitalig, and I'm a faculty member of this institution since 2001, and part of my career here as a faculty member, I'm a member as well of other organizations outside this entity.
And second question, what school are you graduated from and when?
I'm a product of Polytechnic University of the Philippines. I graduated 1995.
Next question is, when did you take the board exams? Tell your experience about it.
Board exam is tasking one if you will consider that as an effort to do so. But when I took the board exam, since civil engineering is my passion, I took it with joy and pride to surpass it last November 1995, same year where I graduated in my alma mater.
Then, what do you do now after graduating?
When I graduated, I entered industry. Part of my experiences when I entered the DMCI corporate world. So I was one of the cadet engineer then, assigned to rebar works, concreting, formworks, among other structural works and designs. And then while I'm with the industry, I have some side hustle like designing, estimating, just to complement my needs in other for my income or salary.
So, you're a teacher also here in Mapua.
Yes, of course. That's why I'm here. And basically, I do not call this as work because entering the academic world considered as my passion to facilitate teaching to the students and at the same time sharing what I have undergone as a civil engineering student.
What specific course do you teach to students?
Basically, all of the mathematics subjects when I entered Mapua way back 2001 when I was a probationary faculty member. But when I took my MS, I entered the civil engineering department and I taught several subjects. We call it courses right now under this particular field.
Next is, why did you choose engineering, specifically civil engineering? What do you love about it?
Well, honestly, my parents, my father basically is a driver, and my mother is a plain housewife. So I began to consider civil engineering, particularly CE, as my field because we do not have such type of decent house to live with. So being with that situation, it anchors me to get motivated and work for this particular profession.
Tapos, next is, describe your greatest success in being a civil engineer.
Well, success is a journey, we all know that. And since I am still in the journey, my success considered several benchmarks. And one of those benchmarks considered a success is, of course, being a civil engineer. Second, being a faculty member of this institution. And third one, being, should I say, a provider for my family, dealing with my good deeds as a civil engineer.
So, what engineering skills have you developed or improved from the time you graduated?
Well, Well, basically, if you have that type of profession as civil engineer, so you can dwell on enhancing your technological inclination. But sorry to tell you, I don't have such type of inclination. But I am willing to undergo training. That's the reason why one at a time I have obtained such type of skills, and then other seminars I had attended, basically MATLAB, among other technology, and of course designing software for C, or particularly structural design.
So moving on to our next part, next phase is about your CE profession. As a civil engineer, what values or traits do civil engineers needs?
Well, basically, um, the value that can be attributed as in any profession, particularly as a civil engineer, it requires um, integrity, because most of the time this big word is actually uh, not um, or should I say, it is not evident on any personal, I mean professional trade, more particularly if it involves money. So,
And next, what struggles or problems that you have encountered just to become a civil engineer?
the struggles came when you have that type of challenges that you consider as barrier, but all of us know that barrier is just a challenge or adversity that you can um, consider to be as one of your stepping stone, or one of the first step or of the ladder that you can grow up with in the industry. So part of that struggles, of course, aside from difficulty in having tuition fee and other allowances, of course, since you are new to the industry, you have to be patient, and you have to consider uh, be conversant. When I speak of conversant, you have to acknowledge the needs of others, and the consideration of being a team member, not just as professional trade, but as a group for the for the company.
So now we are at the last phase of the interview. For your advice, what can you say to the students who wants to be in your position?
Well, basically, um, this, being a student of civil engineering, you have to think with the end of mind. That don't capture that word from me. We know who uttered that. It begins with the end of mind. So you have to consider what will be the last end of the trail once you enter the civil engineering world. So basically, you have to think that being a civil engineer, you can have on an utmost aspect, aside from being a significant to the society, you will have the one of the you can possibly have a big company, and what the manifestation of this outlook can be gleaned in a global aspect when you look at the nature of the work and industry of the civil engineering, more particularly how these construction companies deal with other companies. And aside from that, being a civil engineer, when I often tell this to my students, that being a civil engineer is the prime need profession among other industries, because being is once you establish an infrastructure or a building, it always starts with foundation. And a great foundation is the most required structural elements on that particular aspect or sense.